2 weeks ago, we did kind of a deep dive into resumes, and we looked at resumes from a couple crew members, three different resumes, and we provided direct feedback for them on the things that they needed to change on the resume to make it better, to make it more applicable to a North American market, if that's what they were looking for. And then last week, we did a webinar on infographic visual resumes. And after we do this webinar, we put it onto our YouTube channel and email it out to everybody. So if you want to go back and look at the other ones, please take a chance to go back and look at it. This week, we're shifting to building meaningful connections for career growth. This is really about networking. And this is something that you probably can all relate to, is that you get off of a ship and you have this adrenaline pumping through your system. You're so excited about your land life, and then you start getting rejected and rejected and rejected, or not responded, even if you don't get rejected. And so you start going into your little hole and kind of cocooning in for protection. It's a normal human reaction, but I'm here to say you really have to start pushing yourself out there. And we've seen so many crew members that have been attending our webinars, like getting engaged in LinkedIn, getting engaged in some of these platforms. And it's so cool to see how they're developing their skills, because that is what is going to help them build what their future career looks like. So the first thing is just the power of connecting. The statistics are really overwhelming, the power of networking. And if you think from a crew member's perspective, when you're in the job market, you're competing with somebody that potentially has 10, 15 years of networking under their belt that you didn't get because you were at sea. Your network is at sea. And so all of a sudden you're going, oh, that relationship that I have with the F&B director, with the captain, with these influential individuals, it doesn't really help me in my home country. It doesn't help me in Brazil, doesn't help me in, Colombia. So you're starting from scratch. And so I really want to encourage you guys to understand how important your network is. It is reported that about 80% of jobs are never advertised. 80%. So the job postings that you are seeing out there, you're only seeing 20% of the pie. And I even think of my own company, and Christian oversees all of human resources for me, is that the first thing that we do is when we have a job is we go, hey, do we know anybody? And by obligation, most countries, you have to post a job legally, but a lot of companies go and post a job and they already have somebody in mind for the job. And I'm not saying that to disappoint you. I'm just saying that so that you're realistic about how powerful your network needs to be able to even be in the consideration set for employment. So your network and your connections and making sure that you're top of mind for people is huge. And then the second statistic, which is like mind-blowing, is that over 70% of jobs are actually found through networking. 70%. So there's tons of surveys, there's tons of reports and data that consistently show that the substantial majority of job seekers, they find their jobs through networking. It's through reaching out to somebody and saying, hey, I like how you are as a leader. I like how your posts are. I like how you're communicating. Please keep me in mind for a future opportunity. And when I was at Royal Caribbean, I was shoreside at Royal Caribbean for 11 years. When I was shoreside, I had a file folder that I kept within my desk of everybody's resume of the people that harassed me. It was those people that had drive and that had push. So I always, and if you talk to any really strong leaders, they all have that, is that they're going, okay, who is that person that is so passionate about themselves that they keep going and keep asking and keep putting themselves forward? And I hear a lot of people in the job market today, they're like, oh, nobody responded to me. Oh, nobody da-da-da-da. Oh, and I'm like, those are easy things to say, and it's the same immature dialogue that you hear from people. You have to stop from even letting those words cross your lips. You have to go, no, I'm going to make an impact. I'm going to make sure that somebody notices me. I know that I have skills and value that I can add. I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to have a kick butt resume. I'm going to have a kick butt LinkedIn. And I'm going to make sure that I get noticed so that when people look at me, my posts are beautiful, my images are beautiful, and people are keeping me top of mind. Then the second that that job posting comes up and you see that person put it, you don't go, oh, why didn't they think of me or call me? You go, oh, I'm on it. This is my job. And you're reaching out to that individual. So those are just the statistics on the importance. So what I want to dig into is the types of networking. So the types of networking. Networking comes in so many different forms, and every single one I believe is important. And you have to think about what are your skill sets and what are the ones that you're most comfortable with, and start looking at those professional connections that can lead you to where you want to be. So really, there's face-to-face, there's virtual, and there's communities. And I'm going to dig through a bunch of them now. And please, if you have any questions about them, and especially if it relates to questions within your country, I think this is important, because if you're going, oh, well, Barbara, that doesn't work in Colombia, I want you to ask that question here. Because I'm going to poke a hole and say, okay, let's figure out, is that true? Does it really not actually work? So first and foremost is in-person events. So in-person events are things like participating in industry conferences, industry seminars, workshops, trade shows that allow you to meet face-to-face professionals. These are really good opportunity to have direct conversations with people and looking at their body language. You might see somebody on LinkedIn and see how they post and you think that they're amazing. And then you go to an in-person conference and you meet them and you're like, I would never want to work for that person. They may come across, and the opposite might be true, is that you may see somebody who never posts anything, and then you meet them and you're like, they're a dynamic, engaged leader. I want to work for them. What can I do to do that? So the considerations that you need to take into account as you look at in-person events is travel, time commitment, how much it's going to cost you, and then how long it's going to take you to establish a rapport in the setting. So I'll give you some examples, some in-person events, like one huge event, and this one I'll talk about industry specific as well, is Sea Trade. Sea Trade is a really great cruise organization. CLIA is the Cruise Line Industry Association, and then Sea Trade is another one. And both of these organizations, Sea Trade is kind of the conference that CLIA sponsors. CLIA does a lot of lobbying and fighting for topics that are relevant for the cruise industry. So they'll do environmental issues. During COVID, they were working a lot together. So basically, they're bringing all of the cruise lines to the table, all the suppliers to the cruise lines to the table, and coming up with solutions collectively versus doing it as an individual. But the Sea Trade Conference, they have one in Asia, they have one in the US, they have one in Europe. I think they might have one in the Middle East, but the one in the US is by far the largest one. And it is a conference that all of the destinations, so the ports come, all of the short excursion suppliers come, all of the marine technical people come, the guy, when we went to Sea Trade, and I always refer to this poor guy, I wonder if he got a contract, but it was like this guy that wanted to sell his waffles to the cruise line. And he came to the Sea Trade show and he's cooking waffles, and they have a whole food and beverage division. And I'm going, oh my gosh, someone like that who all he wants to do is work with a cruise line, he could find so much value in hiring a former executive chef, a former F&B person, that he could get that person onto his team so they can educate them on the cruise line. So going to industry or in-person events is massive. We had a girl that she was coming to our webinars in March. In February in the beginning of March, and she was looking for a job. She was US based. And I said, well, if you want to find a job, you need to go to Sea Trade. Girlfriend bought a flight, bought a ticket, and showed up there. And she came with all her little business cards that she printed at the print shop and a little suit, and went booth to booth to booth to booth to booth and introduced herself and was like, hey, what was her name, Christian? What was her name? What was it?
Jessa? No. She had a short name. It'll come up. It'll come up.
It was like Alina or something. It was a tricky Alina. I don't remember. But
yeah.
Man, she had a spirit in her of like, oh, I'm going to find something and I'm going to add value. So that looking at, and I know we're talking cruise specific, and in your countries that you're in, there's probably not cruise specific events, but if you can get to the one in Europe, if you can get to, and actually Dahlia, who's on the call, she's going to the one in Europe in Hamburg, because I was pushing her to. And I really just think is that if it's an administrative position that you're looking for, there's a ton of events that are out there that will get you in front of individuals that are looking for it. So look within your city, look within your country, and then look within your region for something that can make sense for you to go to. And be smart. Maybe you have a family member in the town that you could stay with, you know, think in a unique way so that you could afford to do it. Next one is online platforms. So really, if you guys have not watched our LinkedIn one, I think we have 2 episodes that we already did on LinkedIn. Please go and listen to it. And even if you don't listen to ours, listen to somebody else. I think the key about ours is we talk specifically to a crew member, that your virtual networking, it is massive. It has gained so much popularity, and you and I think Christian and I were overwhelmed by it, especially when we went to Sea Trade. Every single person I saw was like, oh my gosh, congratulations, and what are you doing? Oh my gosh, I love seeing updated, da, da, da. It's people that I had no idea that were even reading any of my posts, that they feel connected to me. So if you have something that you want to talk about, if you have something that you want to add value, you are expanding your network in a way that you could never pay to. So, you know, we're talking about in-person events. You have to drive there. You have to spend money to get into the event. You have to maybe get a hotel. Your online platform is free. Even if you get 5 people to see and look at your profile, it is free. So make sure that you're showing your LinkedIn network who you are, what your expertise is, what projects you've worked on, engaging in discussions. And in the LinkedIn episode, we talk about what are the algorithms behind LinkedIn to get you more traction. And I'll say I did a post last week, I think it was. I've been a little lazy this week, but I did a post last week about a funny interaction that I had where my kids walked in the room and I was talking to a cruise line, to a client. And it was like this snowball effect of one kid came in, then the next kid came in, then they opened my bedroom door, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because everybody can relate to that embarrassment or that moment of trying to come across as professional and then just giving up. And so I posted a picture of my kids. I've gotten more reactions to that post than anything that I've put with like BS content about leadership. So because people want to connect to you as a human being. People want to know and understand what are your struggles. There's a guy that I follow that I just started following by accident. He must be 24 years old, I want to say, and he's a property manager for apartment buildings in Wyoming in the US. And he posted this post that went viral about how he lives in a different state in Arizona. He got offered a job. He packed up his bag. He drove to Wyoming or Utah for his new job. And when the first day on his new job, they eliminated his job. So he had to drive back home to Arizona unemployed. And he just kind of talked, everybody could connect to the pain that he was feeling, and it led to so many job opportunities for him because everybody wanted to help him. So don't shy away from being honest and transparent about what's actually going on in your life and what you're looking for, because people want to help people by nature, and these online platforms give you access to hundreds of thousands of people to be able to do that. So next one is industry specific. Any questions thus far, in person or online? Raise your hand if anything. Feel free to interrupt. Okay, cool. So industry specific communities. This is a really, really important one. When you go into LinkedIn, you can search cruise, and then you'll see all sorts of groups that will come up. You should be in the Sea Trade community group. I think Clea has a group. There's a bunch of industry specific groups that you should make sure that you're in and you're posting content that's relevant. Because in all of these groups, there's suppliers, there's destination, you could go into that group Jamie, and you could say, hey, I'm a former crew member. I was blah, blah, blah on board. I'm incredibly talented. I'm currently in Colombia. If you don't know any leads of anybody in Colombia, I would love to connect to them. And you're not asking for a job. You're just saying, I'm looking for a connection. And they'll go, yeah. And people will start tagging other people to say, oh, I know this person. Oh, I met this person. Oh, I did this person. And then you're just casually connecting to them. You're not saying, hey, I want you to give me a job. I'm so fabulous. You're just saying, hey, tell me about your business. I'll tell you a little bit about me. And it's this non-ego driven, just reaching out to somebody and saying, this is where I am right now. This is what I'm looking for. And you'll be shocked at how many people will connect to you. So really make sure that you go into some of these communities. I would recommend LinkedIn, number one. Facebook is okay. It's not amazing, but Facebook is pretty strong performer crew. But I think that I would just caveat that in the former crew communities, you just have to be careful because there could be a lot of whinging and whining and complaining. And you're really looking for communities that want to refer you, that want to find positions, that are working professionals. So that's why I think LinkedIn is probably your most powerful one. And then please make sure if you join any of these groups that you read what the regulations are for being within the group, because some of them are like, you can't post advertisements for yourself. You can't, just make sure because you don't want to get kicked out of any of the groups. And it's just a way for them to keep interesting content in there. So the next one is networking events and mixers. So these go back to your connection within your community, is that there are, if not on a monthly, a weekly basis, networking events and mixers. And keep in mind, they do not have to be within your specific industry. You can go to women in business. You can go to young professionals. You can go to people within your neighborhood. Like I know my neighborhood has a young professionals group. You can go to here Rotary groups, Rotary's International. You can go to, they're called Chambers of Commerce, but it's essentially like all business owners go and they will have local mixers. You don't necessarily have to be a business owner, but just go to those events. And most of them, there's no charge for them. Some have a minimal charge. This week, and I probably do something once every 2 weeks. This week, tomorrow, I have a Hispanic women's luncheon that is in Davie, Florida. It's a really super old organization, and don't get, I think a lot of people today they want these young, trendy organizations that they're going to their events, but go to the ones that have legacy and that have history. This Hispanic women's organization, these women are like emailing me from their AOL or Hotmail emails. But these women are running multi-million-dollar businesses. So I'm looking at, 70-year-old woman and me, a 40-year-old woman. I'm like, if one of those women are going to teach me something about life and networking and skills and business, I want to be right by their side because they have 30 years experience on me. So make sure that you're going through some that are a variety of ages, a variety of mixture. I just saw women's one that's coming up in November that I'm going to go to, and it was through LinkedIn. It was a lady that is one of the heads of Starboard. It's a charity. I think the other thing is if you can find organizations that are nonprofits versus for-profit, those ones tend to be stronger. So I'm part of WPO, Women's Presidents Organization, and that is a global organization. Rotary is a global organization. If you can find things like that and find out what their networking events are, just go in and start meeting people. You don't lose anything. And really, truly, it'll start training you on having these uncomfortable cocktail party conversations because you only get better at it when you practice. So next one is alumni. Alumni association. So I don't know if the word translates, but alumni is basically the name for, does it translate, Christian? Yeah, okay. So it's basically your college or your high school group of graduates that all came out of the same organization. So the thing that's in common is your college or your high school. and they get together and they have meetings or they'll have something. So find whatever those alumni associations are. And one of the things that I use is at my college, I'm a part of my college LinkedIn group, but I always make sure that I'm pinging people who are recent graduates or people that are in an interesting field, because I want to make sure that common connection of our college breaks down a barrier that I would have with somebody otherwise. And I found some great candidates, some wonderful leads, not necessarily on, well, there have been some business leads that we have found through college, but I don't overlook those associations because they're really, really powerful. And you'll laugh because there's some people who are like, they were the drunk person in college, and then all of a sudden you're like, you're the president of what? And you can immediately connect to them. So the next one is professional organizations. I think that I make sure, write it on your list to do, that you know, today are going to find 3 professional organizations within your community or within your country. Find one that is strong. I talked about women's presidents. I talked about Rotary. YPO is Young Professional Organization. There are so many active organizations that just figure out who they are. That's your first pass. And then you can get on their mailing list and see what comes in. I'm at the Miami Beach Vacation, or the Miami Beach Visitors Bureau, the Fort Lauderdale one. I was in the transportation industry, so I'm on a Women in Transportation. I'm on United Way as a charity. A lot of charities has young professional organizations. So if you're married or not, if you want to meet somebody, go to a charity networking event, because you're going to meet somebody that has a kind heart, that gives to charity, that, you know, is professional. How does it get any better than that? So look at all those different organizations and figure out how you can use those resources and how you can attend their events. Then the next one is mentorship. This has served as a pillar in my life, in my husband's, in our businesses. We have about 5 businesses right now. We had 7 in the peak, 5 right now, but mentors have helped us grow exponentially. And so as a result, we provide mentorship to other smaller businesses, to other individuals. So think about A, how you can ask somebody to mentor you, or B, how you can serve as a mentor to someone else. So say it's somebody that would like to end up working as a crew member on board. Help them, mentor them, coach them, guide them on what their resume needs to look like. And you giving back to that individual will bring to you, I believe very strongly in the law of attraction, and bringing the more that you give, the more that you're going to get. When you are giving to somebody else, you are going to get in return from some other mentor. And we started, you know, we worked with a charity for individuals with intellectual disabilities. And so we brought people, we had an employee that worked for our other company for a couple of years who had an intellectual disability. We mentor people in their smaller businesses. We invite people to the training courses that we paid for and that we're doing so that they can watch them, because we know in their business at the time they can't. And the more that you are giving back, especially if you're not working right now and you have time, if you're not working, you should be doing at least 10 hours a week and giving. Whether it's volunteering, I volunteer at a women and children's shelter in Miami, so I do financial classes for them. So I go once a month and I teach them about personal finances. I teach them what their credit score means, how to use a credit card, how to do savings, how to not lend their sister money because it's a bad idea always. So I just would encourage you to make sure that your mentorship is going both ways. You're giving and you're receiving. And that's pretty much, these are my key ones for your networking. And I think you guys have like 8 here. Let me see how many I gave you. I think I gave you 6 or 7. That if you take these, you're going to have exponential returns. If you take 3 of these, you're going to get so energized and motivated by going to the events, by talking to people, by making connections. And I'm going to talk to you about how you actually make these really powerful for you. because it's not just showing up to these events and signing up for the mailing list. It's actually having a presence and having follow up and follow through at the events. So the next question that I want to address, and you can go to the next, Wilma, is this huge question of what if networking is hard for me? Well, if you worked on the shops on board, you can probably talk to anybody. I guess you just have to put your crew member hat on and go, hey, I'm walking and talking to guests. It's true that if you are feeling frustrated, lonely, rejected, it's hard for you to come out of your cocoon and be bubbly and be networking and be talking to people and passing out your business card. And I think fundamentally, it's hard for you to be believing in yourself, to believe that you add value. And so you really have to make sure that everything that you're feeding your mind on a daily basis. I don't watch the news. I refuse to watch the news because I see it as like drinking poison for me. I'm like, every time I watch it, I'm like, I go to my parents and my parents like watch news on a loop, you know? And I'm like, how do you watch this stuff, Mom? I'm like, I would rather be listening to an audiobook, listening to a motivational speaker, and I give you a ton of names of motivational speakers. Like when you're walking into one of these events, I have moments that I'm like, man, this thing didn't come through. Man, this person didn't respond to me. Man, and you're feeling like a total failure. And I'm like, how am I going to show up to this event? And I just have to sit in my car, close my eyes, listen to something, and remind myself of the value that I add to this world. No, Barbara, like you have this experience, you have this skill, you have this, and I walk in going, all right, guide me to the right person that I need to talk to that's going to give me the energy to get through this. And it's like somebody lighting a pile of wood on fire. When you go in with the intention that all I got to do is connect to one person, then all of a sudden you become like this blazing flame and you're walking around this room and it's boom, 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 boom. All these people are getting attracted to you. And I'll tell you a story about an event that I went to. It was a women's event that someone had invited us to. And I went into check in and they sent me into the wrong room. So they sent me into, instead of into like the general room, they sent me into the speakers room where like the VIPs and speakers were. So I'm sitting down and I'm super uncomfortable because like VIPs and speakers, like generally they're on their phones and they don't really want to talk to you because they're focused on getting on the stage. And so I get my little breakfast and I'm trying to talk to the women at the table. Nobody's talking to me. And I'm like, this is depressing. And then lo and behold, the CEO of Celebrity Cruises, Lisa Lutoff Furlow, walks into the room. She didn't know anybody else in the room. She immediately came up to me and she's like, oh my gosh, Barbara, it's so great to see you. She gave me a big hug. She's like, can I sit next to you? I'm like, yes, please. Then the woman that organized the event comes in and she's like, you're in the wrong room. And I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm getting kicked out of the room. I'm like, somebody sent me in here. But this was my sign. This was my nudge of like, Barbara, you walked into this room. Sorry that it's scary, but I'm going to give you a reassurance. But not, and actually the mayor of the city of Miami was in the room too. If I hadn't walked into that wrong room, had a pit in my stomach and super uncomfortable, I wouldn't have met those two women. Then I go into my correct room. I walk into the correct room. I step in. I meet these two ladies. Oh, I meet a lady that introduced me to these other two ladies. I just gotten back from a meditation retreat. The lady who was next to me was totally obsessed with the guy that leads this retreat, and she wanted to know everything. And I'm like, okay, great. I have someone to talk to. The other lady that walked up to me, she had a staffing company, which what we do is staffing, that she had just sold. And she was like, I will help you, whatever you need. I'll be your mentor. I'm not doing anything else. She's this rich lady that just sold her company that wanted to help little old me. And so literally being within this event for maybe an hour, I got 4 fabulous connections of people that wanted to see me succeed. And then we went into the room and we sat through the event, and the event was terrible, like terrible. It was every reason why you shouldn't have a women's event. It was like these women in these like shiny pink silk suits with pearls on, telling us about our present. It was horrible. But I got to sit at this table of women that we sat and we laughed and we mutually connected about how horrible the thing was. But I'm just saying, like, show up. Show up for an hour, put yourself out there, even if it feels difficult, and just make it a goal of connecting to one person. One person. And then the other thing is, you can go to the next one, is following up and maintaining connections. This is something that is so, so, so important. There's a gentleman, his name is Jesse Itzler. He is actually the husband of Sarah Blakely, and Sarah Blakely is the owner of Spanx. Do you guys know what Spanx are? Like those, it's like a girdle, like a faja, like those things that you wear, and she became very famous. She was like the first woman billionaire in the US. And her husband, Jesse, he has this amazing technique where he has this massive calendar. It's a physical paper calendar that he carries everywhere. And every single day, he writes 3 people's names that he needs to connect to. So every single person that he has ever met, he sends a text, he sends a LinkedIn message, or he sends an email to, and he just says, hey, Aline, I just want you to know that, like, you made an impact on me. I think you're an amazing human being. I'm so excited about what the future holds for you. And I want to make sure that we don't lose touch, because I know that we were meant to meet at this event, at this thing. So I wanted to reach out and just wish you a great day. I know you're super busy. You don't need to reply. Literally 99% of people will reply, because all that you're doing is feeding them. Is you're saying, I'm saying to Aline, hey, I think you're amazing. You don't need to reply. I know you're busy. And you're like, thank you. Aline's going to reply because she's going to go, I needed that today. Thank you so much. And I'm going to have made an impression on her. And she's going to continue, every time she thinks of me, she's going to remember that moment, those words that I said to her. And how much did it cost me? Nothing. What? Nothing. If you block 15 minutes of your day to do that, 3 connections, that across the course of 365 days, 3 times 365, 1,095 people that you could have impacted. Do not forget the impact of your connections. So first, Jesse Itzler, follow his process. It's super, super easy. I just had a friend that I texted, I think it was yesterday morning, a really amazing friend of mine, who I just sent her a text, and I'm like, and I try and do 3 a day. The friend that I just texted her, and I just said, hey, I was thinking of you. I really miss you. I hope you're doing okay. And she immediately replied, and she was like, oh my gosh, thank you for thinking of me. When can we get together? Da, 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 da. And even if it's for a 5-minute conversation, it's continually connecting to those people that genuinely have goodness and want goodness for you. So I'm going to show you one of my other techniques that I do. When you go to one of these events, and I'm going to give you an example. Usually when you go to one of these events, this was an event I went to in Las Vegas from the Women's Presidents Organization. It was called the 50 Fastest Women-Owned and Led Company. Here it is. Da, da, da. And inside of this, see, it has all of the names of all of the women who are part of these 50 fastest growing companies. So let me tell you about Hema at ASCI. She's in IT staffing services. She has 687 employees. Man, I want to know Hema. I want to know what makes her tick, what makes her have a successful business. Another one is retail. This one is professional staffing. She's in Troy, Michigan, 2,000 people on her team. Like, I want to know these women, and I want to be in their network. So what I do after going to the event is I go to my LinkedIn, I look them up, and I send a message, and I say, hi, Alina. Actually, let's do Melissa. Hi, Melissa. I just attended the WPO 55. Congratulations on your award. I would love to stay connected. It's really exciting what you're doing with your business. Boom. I copy and paste that, changing the name of the person 50 times. Then all of a sudden, I'm connected to these 50 women in a genuine way. I really am interested in what they're doing. I want to see how they post. I want to see what they say. I want to see what job openings that they have. I want to learn from them as a leader. I'm not looking for a job from them per se, but I want to make sure that I'm in proximity to these women that are recognized by this organization. So make sure that, if you're at this luncheon and it's terrible, that you're sitting on your LinkedIn and you're just sending messages to people, boom, 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 asking them to connect. And you're going to see so quickly how your network grows, but grows with qualified, vetted candidates. And then I want to show you a really, maybe I'll send it out in the link. I wish I could share. I don't think I can share it here. Let me just check real quick. Is that there's a really quick, you do not need business cards anymore, my friends, because of LinkedIn. If you have your LinkedIn done really, really, really well, when you, oh no, it's not on the web version. If you have, when, not if, there's no if for this one. When you have LinkedIn on your phone, when you go to the search at the top of the page, there's a little QR code. It's gray. If you hit it, it will appear a QR code for you. So when you meet somebody, you immediately show them your QR code. You say, hey, let's connect. And you have them scan yours. And you don't need to scan theirs because you'll get their information. And they're not going to reject you when you're standing in front of them. So then you connect via LinkedIn. And then you can send them a thank you message. Hey, it was wonderful to meet you. I'd like to stay connected. Let's have a phone call. Let's have a coffee, whatever those things may be. And again, don't be disingenuous with it. Connect to people that you really like and want to learn from and want to stay connected to. And then success stories. I would love to hear about anything that you guys have done with your connections, within your community, within your network. I know I shared some of mine or some ideas that have sparked for you. And I can ping my team first because they're always ones to mention. But I want you guys to, and you can stop screen sharing if you want, Wilhelmina. But I would love to hear how you guys are going to take some takeaways and then how I can offer advice, support, guidance in any way to what we talked about. Just give me one takeaway that you guys have. Any?
Wait.
Who do we have? Oh, don't forget.
Hi.
Oh, there, Blaj. Okay, Blaj, you go
Hi.
first.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really a success story, but with all of everything that I heard today, it definitely reminded me of managers. I mean, I had the pleasure of working with Christian, and I had the pleasure of working with Hugo, and a lot of managers that were really good in the company, and they were very motivational. They're really good at motivating people. But another thing that they were really good at was actually doing the things that they were talking about. It wasn't just talking, like, oh yeah, we can do it, and then it's like they go to the office and you don't see them again. Normally they were always present, and the one thing that I learned from them, and then I kind of led through all of it, and this entire meeting and training actually reminds me of it, is that there is no limit to what you can do and what you could do, and the only person standing in front of your success or your future or anything is you. So if you don't go out there, if you don't do anything, nothing will happen, so I love what you're saying all the time with the networking and with anything. And at the end of the day, if you do if you do your best and you are genuine and not fake or false or anything, you will never know what will happen. Because one of the things, for example, that I was really surprised last year that happened to me was, throughout the entire pandemic, and we all went through depression time, and oh my gosh, nobody really values, I don't know how it is for you guys, but back at home in Macedonia, working on ships is not really valued. It's like you get paid to go on vacation. That's how they kind of see it. So it did take me a while to get a job and find a job, but what was really interesting was that out of nowhere, randomly, I saw an old friend that I hadn't spoken to in 12 years probably. And then all of a sudden she was like, hey, I remembered you from working back in the days. I started this company. We do need an extra person. Would you like to come and help us? And I was like, yeah, but I kind of went into another area right now. I'm not doing what we used to do. She's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I know you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it started off from there, even though, I didn't, it had nothing to do with kids. The past few 10, 15 years, most of the things that I did had to do with kids. But she's like, no, I know you
Yeah.
from before. Doesn't matter. I know how you do things. I know how you work. We can do it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So
And
it
this
does,
goes
like,
back to the point that we said at the beginning, is people hire
exactly.
people that they know. People hire people that, and I look at my companies, we hire first on values.
No.
It's like, what is your attitude when you show up to work? What is your personality? How are you? And Zappos, the shoe company, I think I've told the story in another one. One of the things that they do is anytime they're going to hire somebody at an executive level, they fly them out to their headquarters in Las Vegas, and everybody gives a review. And one of the most important reviews is how they treated the taxi driver that picked them up from the airport. If they were kind to them, if they were respectful, and that is, and I got chills just saying it, is that if they were not kind, it doesn't matter if they fly past every single interview with flying colors, they will not hire them. And I'm like, that's it. People hire people based on if you like them and their values.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
that's it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that, Vaughn.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Aline, I know you had your hand up. Don't be shy. Oh, Jamie, I want to mess it
Yes,
up every single time. Sorry.
yes, I have one. The job that I'm doing now, it was because I was organizing an event to take some pictures. My husband is a photographer, so I was doing like a kind of fake event just to take pictures to put it in on Airbnb. So I tell some friends like, hey, I need some people that they looks nice, that they look happy because I need to take the pictures. The event will be free. Was about a coffee tasting. So right there, one of my husband friends came with a friend. That is the person that is my boss now, my partner in the job that I am doing. So he said like hey, like I'm doing this, I'm doing coaching comedy, about that. I said I don't know about anything about that. I was working like on sales. I have like this experience like that. And he said, well, what are you doing now? I said, well, I just came from the ship. I don't know right now what I want to do. I don't
Yeah.
have anything like serious. So, but you know what? I like your project. I believe in your project. I think that is something really different. So this is how I start to work with him. The day that I met him, he said like, you know
Yep.
what? You have something that I need, and maybe I have something that you need. That is money for work, and
Yeah.
this is how we ended right here. Yeah.
Yeah. This is amazing. That's so good. These are great stories because it also it helps you remember how important this network is, how important it is. If we're sitting in our cocoon, like applying for jobs on LinkedIn, it's just not reality. You have to be making an impression. You have to be connecting to people. You have to be showing them your personality. And sure, that's scary and you could get rejected, but no goodness comes out of life being easy. No goodness comes out of it. Sorry.
Yeah, and
And I had
and
an
that's
amazing, again, I told you guys I believe very strongly in like your energy and the law of attraction and it like connecting to the right people. And I was stopping into a restaurant, I think it was on Monday of this week. I was just hungry, hadn't eaten. I said, all right, I'm gonna stop here and just go sit by myself at the bar and have a salad. And so as I was walking into the restaurant, the CEO of Starboard was walking out. And I know her and she stopped and I was on a conference call, so I hung up and I'm like, oh my gosh, Lisa. She gave me a big hug and she goes, what are you doing here? I said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm having lunch at the bar by myself. And she's like, I just had lunch at the bar by myself. I'm so sorry that we didn't have lunch at the bar together. And so we just kind of laughed about like our life and being stressful. And sometimes you just need to like sit at the bar by yourself and eat. And so those serendipitous connections are these nudges that are like, keep going, and they wouldn't happen if you stay in your cocoon. And so keep getting out, keep looking for the one sign that will make you step just a teeny bit forward. So, and resist any of that stuff that would say, hey, oh, I don't want this, or hey, I'm going to get rejected. So, yeah. Jamie, did you have another thing, or is that your hand from before?
Yes.
Or, yeah.
No. I want to say something. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Something that you said just now is really important, and I just realized it this week, because sometimes we think because we left our country, we lose everything. Like, oh my God, how I send a message to this person that I don't see it in the last 4 years, 5 years, or maybe 1 year. But it's something that if you can reconnect, that will be important, because you never left the person who you are, and they know that. Because for me it was like, oh, because some people are like, hey, if you are looking for a job, so tell the people that you met before. And was like, come on, I don't want to send a message like, hey, I didn't say hi in the last 5 years, but right now I need a job, so hey, how are you doing? So but I tried with some people that think that they can help me, and they were like, oh really, you are back, oh that's so nice, okay, yeah, of course I will keep your CV on mine, if I know about something. So it's something that sometimes we put the limits in ourselves, like we think before that we try. So that's really important, and I realized it this week, that say, okay, yes, I will send some messages that say, hey, yes, maybe I'm here, I'm back. If you have something for me, just let me know. So
And
that's
just
really
remember
important.
to encourage them, is that like, remember to say, hey, Pablito, I always remember the time that we were working together and the impact that you had on me as a leader. Like, you taught me this, this, and this. And
Sorry to jump in on this one, Barbara. Sorry to interrupt
go.
really quick, but this is a strong one. Recently, I had friends cruising on board Quantum, and I didn't know anybody there, and I wanted to send a little something, a little token of appreciation, which as we used to do when we were on board for so many people. We don't know anyone there, so I know the cruise director. A long time ago, we used to work together. So I shoot him an email, and this whole time I'm thinking, how am I going to reach out? To Jamie's point, how am I going to reach out? I haven't spoken to this person for about 7 years. But I said, you know what? It's an email, worth a shot. It's going to make someone's day. But then again, I was thinking, it's like, when you were working with this person, you were giving your 100%. So it's not like, it's even with real friends, you can part ways and be apart for 10 years and then meet each other again. Like right now, I'm seeing Blanche, and we can take as if yesterday we had stopped talking. But there's not, that's like, oh, you haven't spoken to me. Oh, really? Now you're reaching out to me. It's not that type. It's not that type of a toxic relationship, because it was work, right? And when you're working with someone, you were giving you 100%, and your reputation precedes you, and they will remember the person you were when you were working with them. I look at Blanche right now. I know exactly what her capabilities are. If she raises her hand, I know exactly. She doesn't have to keep in touch with me for me to know exactly who she is and what she needs. And the moment she raises her hand, I know I'm going to be there for her 150%. So this, I guess the same goes around for everybody. We put in our time, we put in our effort, and that speaks way more than the little emails or the touch-ups that we could keep up with them year after year, or sending a birthday card. It's not. I mean, nowadays it's not something. It's not possible. Our network is so big, and the world is so fast for everybody. We're all so busy, but we will always remember the impact that person had in your life, and you were in there when you were working with that person as well.
So the lesson is, don't be mean to anybody.
Yes.
Remember.
Yes, as well. That's the flip side to it.
Aline.
And if you are, don't ask for favors later.
Yeah. Aline, share with us. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. So just like a little bit of my experience, for example, about connections. So before I started a cruise ship, I was working as nutritionist back home in Brazil, and I was not really happy about it. I was in the stage that I want to go out of the country and explore the world and see new things. And I was trying to find that for myself, searching on the internet and these things. And I had a friend of mine that I was like talking to her about it. And then after a while, she just sent me a link, and she was like, look, Aline, it's an application for the cruise ship. And I actually didn't know about the work. I didn't know about exist a work of that of this type. And because of her, because she sent me the link. I start application and then I end up working on a cruise ship. But it's just like, if it was just myself, but maybe I hadn't communicated to her about my desire, maybe this wouldn't have happened. And
Yeah. It's so
yeah,
good. You got to make sure to tell her thank you. Have you told her thank you?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And another thing I was also going to share is now as work on a yacht industry.
Yeah.
As you were saying about like sometimes we need to give our time to help people.
Yeah.
To give a little bit also, and after a while I start to feel the need that I want to do something for to be able to help someone to do more than I was doing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I know like most of Brazilians, they don't know much about the yacht industry, and then I start to create a group. I did create a big group on WhatsApp of like full of Brazilians interested on the industry, and it's where I teach them about what are the requirements, what are the agencies, and how to get those types of jobs. And even one colleague of mine were like asking, "Oh, why are you doing this for free?" And in the end, like if we are helping someone today, as you're seeing, like we never know tomorrow. Anyways, I'm creating like a big connection with people that we share very similar things, very similar desires. And some people even come to me and they write a message and they say, "Oh, thank you very much." And it's just like so grateful to see when somebody appreciate when you're helping someone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's going to pay you back tenfold. Like it will. I mean, you don't need to go into that with that desire, but it's going to pay you back because you're helping people and people are always going to remember you for that. That's
yeah.
huge. That's huge. Oh, that's so good. Well, anybody else? I know we're just a little bit over on our time, but I'm so grateful for everybody sharing, and I'm grateful for this network. It's all new faces almost today. Like I'm so happy for that, to meet some other people, because we have like our regulars that are here every single week. But oh, actually, I think we had Jose joined a little bit late, so Jose's our regular, but. You guys, please continue to show up to our webinar. It's an hour a week. And even if you have your camera off, if you're driving, whatever, it doesn't matter for us. It's really about feeding yourself. And even if it's not us, but make sure that you're looking at other resources that are providing encouragement, motivation, inspiration, giving, because it will really transform who you are. Make sure that if you haven't filled out your online profile with us, go onto the Ship to Shore website and register and put it there. And even if you're not looking for a job right now at this moment, it doesn't matter. Just put it in there, because if one comes up and it could be a good fit for you, then we would reach out. And it's without any obligation. Again, we're not like a bootleg hiring agency. We don't charge anything to crew members to be part of our network. That's not how our business model is. We're just looking at providing long-term, well, our tagline is employing crew for life. Is that we want crew to be able to have a seamless transition from the ship to their shore life and not ever be afraid or experience any of the things that you guys had about fear, what's going to happen. So thank you guys for joining us. You can always reach out to us at our email. Our email apply, APPLY, that goes to me, Christian, and Wilhelmina. So if you send it to that, it'll go through all of us. But just thank you guys for joining, and have the most amazing week. Do some of the things that I tell you, connect to the people, contact 3 people today, and you guys are going to see the fruit that comes into your life as a result. So thank you guys. Take care. Bye.